Hello, you can check Portal Games, and this is
Vincent
from Lucky Duck Games.
Absolutely.
And I'm publisher of Detective Modern Crime board game, and we are publisher of
Chronicles of Crime.
And these are two games that make a lot of splash this year because everybody is now talking about 2018 is the year of detective games. There's more of these games on the market, but I'm making a lot of splash. We want to brag a little bit. We sold altogether, you and me, more than 100,000 copies this year of Chronicles of Crime and Detective. So there is hundreds, literally hundreds and thousands of people playing detective games. And fun enough, this is the first message of this video. And nobody knows that, but we are basically neighbors. So all these games were released here in Poland, south of the Poland. We are living in Krakow.
That's correct, yes.
I'm living next to the Katowice, and it's like 40 miles, 30 miles.
Absolutely.
You came here today, yeah. 1 hour drive?
Yes, absolutely. And nobody knows about that. So now it's...
So all this detective splash, all this detective hype was basically done from two guys in the south of the Poland. And this is a pretty funny story. But let's start how it all started for you, for Chronicles of Crime.
So I actually met David, the author of Chronicles, in Cannes 2016. And he was chasing me about this hybrid game. For the small story, actually, I invested in a hybrid company before as just an innocent investor, and that company bankrupt. So I was very scared when you're talking about hybrid. But David managed to corner me on a table, and I tried, and within 10 minutes, I immediately see the game, and I absolutely fall in love with it. Like the concept was really, the concept was good, the material was rough, but 10 minutes later, I knew I wanted to publish this game, and literally the week after Cannes, we were already discussing details. Actually, other publishers wanted this game, so but we fought the hardest, and I'm so glad because 2 years later, this game has come in a way that our previous experience with building apps has really paid off into the final product. So, that's how it started, Cannes 2016. What about you, actually?
For me, it was a love for the Sherlock Holmes Constant Detective. It's here, over here. I bought the game after the recommendation from Grant Roddick, designer of Cry Havoc. He said, Ignacy, I know you, buy this game, you will love it. I bought it, I loved it. And then, I'm designer, so months passed. I was trying to do Polish edition of this game. I didn't get the license, but I was still like, I love this system, I love deduction games. And here we are 3 years later. We have Modern Crime board game, and we designed a lot of work. Last time I spoke with my guys, we started designing in our previous location. So we moved to the new location. There was years of work, but it is here done, and we are now working on the expansion. But we'll talk about the expansion later, so stay tuned. Let's talk about the basics. Because we assume that everybody knows about these games, but let's say you never heard about Detective or Chronicles of Crime, the basics of the game. Tell us.
Well, so Chronicles of Crime, basically, it's a cooperative crime investigation game. The premise is that you, as a group, will have a forensic expert that you can call, and you use characters, location, and object card that have nothing more than a QR code. Those QR codes are kind of like digital index. When you scan them, they basically help you, instead of going to page 38, line 310 in paragraph 6, it jumps you to a text so that it basically fluidify the way you would read a book. And the app it comes with is nothing more than a digital book. And basically the group uses a phone to basically scan people, and then once you have scanned that person, you're actually talking to them, and then you scan something else as a subject of conversation. So it's a game of associations, but asking the right question to the right people, and basically coming down to the group at discovering the story and really understanding what is really underlying here, asking questions to the right witness. One last very interesting thing about this game is that it's a lot more dynamic than a book because it's digitalized. So it gives the writers tools like you can make like anonymous phone call, people can die, a character can move, there is a day and night stuff. So this can add an extra layer. I would say a very fresh take on the genre versus the paper version of Sherlock Holmes that people have talked about as something they appreciated on the game. What about yours?
Quite the same gameplay. Like, this is a very important message for you. Both games scenario driven.
Yep.
How many scenarios you have in the base box?
Five.
Five the same. I don't know.
I didn't know actually.
Five scenarios. At the beginning of the game, you open the scenario, you get some information, some introduction. Yes, somebody got killed in most cases. And now the game asks you solve the crime. In your situation, you have this board with the non-player characters, with the items, the things. You try to match what's going on. With us, it's a deck of the cards. So instead of that, we have a deck of the cards. And in the introduction, you get first initial numbers of the cards you can read. You read these cards, you learn something, and then you decide what you want to do next. And the whole gameplay, and I know because I played Chronicles of Crime, and I know that you play detective. The basic gameplay is the same in the terms of your experience. Like, basically you are talking with each other and you're thinking, this guy is lying, no, I trust him, no, look, he was talking about this, something like that. So people basically are immediately forgetting about the components, basically, yes, about this is a card, no, this is this guy, like they are thinking about this. And about both games, reviewers saying that immersive is the word they use over again. The game are immersive because suddenly you are detective. In our game, in your game. So I would say the gameplay mechanics are different, but the gameplay is quite the same. Like, we are basically solving the crime.
Yeah, basically uncovering a story and getting deep into understanding what is happening behind, basically.
Very important thing also about both of the games. They are very simple in terms of the rules. Like for Portal games, we are known for Robinson Crusoe, Imperial Settlers, Cry Havoc, big, heavy gamers games. This one is like, oh my god, it's like 2 pages of the rules. Like, it's so simple. The same with you have even in your game tutorial.
Absolutely.
So you can basically open the box, and what happens? There is a first scenario. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's a tutorial that basically lasts about 15 minutes. Very mechanical. So there's very little challenge in that tutorial.
Because we are learning how to play.
Exactly. But it will show you how to scan, where to place people. So you literally don't have to read the whole book. It will teach you the basic of the game in 15 minutes.
We don't have an app, but we have this case number 6, so-called case number 6, that we use at the convention. This is the same case. Like, we are just sending case to the conventions. The players are reading the story. At the Gen Con we run, even I don't know if you saw photos, 100 players at one time.
Yeah, in this big room that you.
And we just through the microphone we just explain the basic rules of the game and said, guys, you play. And they were just playing. This is so fulfilling moment when you just say immediately sucked to the story and discovering the plot. Super simple. You have tutorial. That means you have the app, and we have the website. Let's talk about the technology, because both our games are using technology. You have the app. You start.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, this app, the idea for it is that it lifts the needs for learning, and it lifts the need for turning pages. The idea though behind the technology, obviously it's a free app, etc. There's two very strong things about technology in I think in both cases, but especially in ours. The first one is that it allows us to be able to fix typos, fix content, fix bugs, and actually, unfortunately, Sherlock Holmes is infamous for his first edition having bugs and that you couldn't finish some of this stuff. So digitalize this digital aspect really help us bring to quality. And within the first 2 weeks of the release of Chronicles of Crime, there is a lot of stabilization to the point where we are right now, where it is very stable. And the second thing is that it brings the capacity to bring more content truly digitally. In our case, we don't use card for the expansion; it's pretty digital. So it brings a limitation that we have to use the material in the box, but still, it also means that in our case we can player can download more scenario and play with that stuff. So. And the last aspect, though, as you mentioned, is it has to become completely transparent. It has to be diluted by the fact that you're sucked into the story, and this is just a new medium, a more modern medium to read a story and to get into a story. But it has to disappear when you play the game. What about your thinking?
We are using website. Many people are confused. This is not app. This is a regular website you can go to from any device, and it pretends to be FBI website, like you are now pretending to logging into the FBI or police, and you have their suspects information and all this additional data questioning of different people. So in the same situation. It just adds to the value to the gameplay. One player is making notes, one player is reading the cards, and one player is just, I'm hacking FBI, yes, and he's getting some information. Hey guys, look what I found. And once again, in all reviews that are already published, people are saying this is adding to the experience. This is not taking you from the gameplay, from the table.
Yes.
It adds to the table.
Exactly.
And I don't know how many pictures and photos of people playing Chronicles of Crime are online. I saw many pictures of playing people detective, of course, because that's what I'm looking for. And people that are taking this seriously and taking to the next level to just increase the experience, because this is what we're looking for.
The role-playing almost.
We got emails from people who says, we asked our boss that we can stay longer in the office so we can use conference room, and they have this big screen, you know.
I've seen this picture,
yeah,
that's amazing.
And they're sitting like in FBA headquarters, conference room, big screen, they are logging to the website, photos of the suspects, questioning, so super fun stuff. So once again, I know some people are afraid about the technology. No, we want to play cardboard. This is not even playing a cardboard, this is playing us. We are talking, discussing, and if you're using website, if you're using wooden cube, basically this is a game about not components, whatever they are, physical or app, this is about us talking.
Absolutely,
This is the gameplay. I think you are wrong. I think he's right. This was what happened, yes? And you're arguing, 3 players, 4 players, when they start arguing, we see it in the results, we have access, you do have access to the data as well. Winning ratio. We clearly see that more people are playing, more winning ratio, the higher winning ratio, because they debate, they think they have more ideas, they struggle, but they have a good solutions of the story. So this is all about us talking, discussing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are talking about now how the games are similar, but there are some differences. Our game Detective is a campaign game. Basically, it's like one big story in the chapters. You have more like separate. There is a campaign, but this is much more standalone. Like you can start in the middle. And I was thinking about this before this recording, and I came up with the idea that we can compare these games to Pandemic and Pandemic Legacy. Like I have both cases. To be honest, I have a Pandemic the Cure, not Pandemic the Cure at home, and I have Pandemic Legacy at home. So I have both of the games because sometimes I want to play with my kids. It's a Saturday afternoon, and we play, let's go Pandemic the Cure, let's save the planet. And sometimes I talk to my wife, okay, let's open Pandemic Legacy, we'll play for a few weeks and finish the whole campaign. And this is the same case with a similar case, not the same, similar case with Chronicles of Crime and Detective. Detectives, our game needs more involvement of the time. You have to have one group to finish the game. Like if you start with the one group, it is really difficult to change the group. Because you have to remember what happened preview, and we can see it very clearly once again in data. We have data from website. We see how players are playing, and we see lots of players. And we are in a contact with social media. We are waiting for holidays. We are waiting for the time for our group to come. Because they know that if they start with one group, this is like a dedication that we will finish the whole campaign. The story is super immersive, super involving. The moment when you finish the case, it is like a final season of the TV show on Netflix, because it's a fifth scenario. All these clues suddenly make sense, click together, and it's, oh my god, this guy from the first scenario, now it matters. So this one, on one hand, huge involvement. On the other hand, you get a nice story. With you, it's much easier to play. So tell us about this gameplay, because my people, this guy, you don't see Marek, but he's with here. He has Chronicles of Crime at home. Rafa, our admin manager, has Chronicles of Crime at home. So even though they are playtesters of my detective game, they have at home both of the games because they love both experiences. So tell about the other experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say the difference, because I've played your game, is that the Chronicles of Crime is kind of easier to put on the table. It is basically a game that you can play in an hour on average. And in a sense also the bar is a little lower in term of difficulty. So you can play it with basically your direct family who is not familiar with board game in general.
I played with my daughters at home.
Yeah, and actually, and in that way, I found both games very complementary, because I played this game. I played Chronicles of Crime with my wife, but she would not. She like the idea of a 3-hour gameplay with her is not a thing. I love how we played Detective. the intensity. So I played detective with my groups, with my game night group, and I played Chronicles of Crime with my wife. And I think in that way,
same what happened in my home. Like I brought Chronicles of Crime at home, and on detective there's so much tech, there's so much involvement. So I even didn't try. I didn't play with my kids detective, but Chronicles of Crime, when we get a copy from you and we play, then there is this drug dealer that was not going to get you to play with my daughter. But yes, exactly the same with me.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that though they even though in a sense actually, to be honest, my game is almost better with a lower count. Actually, 2 is on Board Game Geek is the recommended number, and there are scenarios that are harder than others. So when you engage yourself into this 1 hour and a half, you can choose also the difficulty you want to have for that night, and so you have more of this pick and grab, like what you mentioned with this pandemic version, that you're just gonna play a game without too much.
That is interesting. That I didn't check what people on Board Game Geek say about our game. What's the sweet spot for me personally? It's free for detective.
Okay,
but I have to check what people are saying. That's interesting.
Fair enough.
And now we are talking about the future, because we have some good news for you. Basically, both detective and the Chronicles of Crime, I perceive them as a game system, not entirely a game, like a game system that you can build on with the expansions, new cases, new ideas. Portal Games at Essen announced the first expansion for the game, LA Crime. They're moving the game system to the Los Angeles Beverly Hills camp. Eddie Murphy, awesome stuff. Once again, small campaign to solve. You already have expansions, right?
Yeah, so actually we have kind of 2 dimensions of expansion. We have expansion within the base game, because we have this digital ability to be able to upload new story. It's purely digital using just the base game, so that's one dimension. But the other dimension is that we're bringing 2 extra expansion to the market in early 2019. They were financed through the Kickstarter campaign we had in February in 2018. And one is Noir, and it's 19.
I saw the box.
Yeah, it's actually a very talented German illustrator who did this cover. In Noir, basically the group is all representing this one cliche kind of 1950 detective, and instead of having forensic, you actually have action that are like typical Noir, which is intimidate, bribe, break in, and follow. And the second expansion is called Redview. 1980, little town Redview in the US, and strange things are happening. You get it, it's kids on a bike. This one, as a twist, has a bit of an RPG element. You are actually a character with some stats, and so it's all about making choices and tests. Because of this, actually this is one of the heaviest in text, because there's so many different paths you can take. When you arrive in front of a villa, and you can either convince the guard to come in, you can either try to look for a place to, or you can try to crawl on top with physical, or you can try to go around and see if you can find another route to go. And this one also is kind of intended for a slightly younger audience, not too young either, but there is no blood, there is no swearing, and it's basically, it wanted to be at least something a little bit more approachable that you can play with your youngest.
Perfect. So basically, we are coming with the new content for you. If you buy the base game of the game, whatever, Chronicles of Crime or Detective, there's more to come, more stories, more cases to solve, more crimes committed. We will find them all, these guys committed.
We'll bust all the bad.
That's all for today. We want to greet you guys from Poland, 2 guys who made a lot of splashable detective games. We wish you a great holiday season, play with your family, Chronicles of Crime, play detective. You can, one thing that I forgot to mention, because the games are so simple in terms of the rules, is a great idea for the gift for your non-gamer friends.
Yeah.
Like, it may be a getaway game. You know that somebody loves crime stories, like True Detective, like watch crime stories on TV, on Netflix, on HBO. Maybe he wants to read the books.
Yeah.
You can offer him something like that and play. I know that Marek is playing with his family who are not gamers, but this is something that you can offer and surprise somebody with super nice gift. So greetings from Poland, Ignacy Czerwczyk, Portal Games.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye bye.